Welcome to the Love Story with Lisa channel. Today, we're bringing you a brand new story. I was placed in the Bridal Sedan to repay a debt to the mountain bandit, but instead of fleeing, I chose to stay, for I could see his fate. Synopsis. The leader of the Black Wind stronghold once saved my father's life. To repay the debt, my father promised him one of his daughters. Upon hearing this, my eldest sister fled in the night with her beloved. My second sister shaved her head and entered a nunnery. My third sister feigned illness and took to her bed. As for my brothers, they made their position immediately clear: he was not their type. So my father had no choice but to place me in the bridal sedan. I did not cry nor make a fuss, on the contrary, I cooperated perfectly. Because I can see the fate written in people's destinies. That day, I saw his past. In his youth, he had been proud and magnificent, until his family was destroyed, forcing him to endure and retreat, all while carrying an unfinished ambition and a heart that yearned for the world. Lin Feng lifted my veil and froze, then let out a helpless, bitter laugh. How old are you? Is your father a beast? Are you not afraid of me? I tilted my head and smiled. You are handsome, and you are a good person. I am not afraid. I was 15 then, a few more years of growing up and I would be ready. The road to overthrowing the dynasty was long and treacherous, and I wanted to walk a stretch of it by his side. Chapter 1. Mother held me tightly, reluctant to let go, saying that if her beauty hadn't faded, she would have gone in my place. Father immediately twitched the corner of his mouth. As for my brothers, I kept emphasizing that he was not their type. And as for my 3 elder sisters, one fled with her sweetheart, one shaved her head and entered a convent, and the last pretended to be sick and bedridden. Only I obediently followed father's arrangement. Father sighed. Chang Ning, if not for the head chief of Black Wind stronghold, the entire Liu family would have lost their lives long ago. The Liu family were originally merchants. In the capital, we were pressured by the alliance of officials and merchants, forced to flee thousands of li south to escape disaster. Who would have thought that carrying all our family's wealth would draw the attention of mountain bandits? The hired escorts all fled first. Fortunately, the people of Black Wind stronghold appeared and rescued all 6 of our family members, along with more than a dozen servants and several dozen in goods. Though they were mountain outlaws, they did not touch a single coin of silver, because the Liu family was honest folk. Father asked how they wished to be repaid. The advisor beside the head chief replied plainly, "Our master has encountered a conflicting fate this year and needs a young woman born under the stars of wealth and fortune to bring good luck. A daughter of the Liu family would be perfectly suitable." Father immediately nodded and promised to give one of his daughters to the head chief. Years passed, and Black Wind stronghold urged that the marriage vow be fulfilled. Father wiped the corner of his eye, with not a single tear to show, and lamented, "Chang Ning, only you can go." That day, Mother personally dressed my hair and applied my makeup. Father and my brothers, afraid I might change my mind, personally placed me in the bridal sedan. The wedding procession beat gongs and drums all the way up the mountain, then handed me over to the stronghold's men. It was said that Black Wind stronghold allowed no outsiders through their gates. From the time I was small, I could see things others could not. My body was also frail. The winding mountain road made my head spin and blur. I had barely been guided into the bridal chamber when a small hand pressed a steamed pork bun into mine. Through the golden threaded veil, a young boy stood before me and said gently, "Little auntie-in-law, eat this bun first to fill your stomach. Little uncle will be here soon. Lin Feng walked into the bridal chamber and lifted my veil, right at the moment I was taking a large bite of the enormous bun. The buns in the stronghold were made very large. One was enough to fill a person. Our eyes met. Lin Feng froze. Then astonishment appeared on that ruggedly handsome face. How old are you? Your father must be a beast. Are you not afraid of me? I tilted my head and smiled. You look refined and you are a good person. I am not afraid. Lin Feng sighed and walked to the writing desk to pour himself a cup of tea. Tomorrow morning I will have someone escort you down the mountain. Your father is a beast, I am not. I stood up, stepped toward him, and caught hold of his sleeve. I will not go. I am your wife. Lin Feng frowned slightly. You are too young, I replied. I am already 15. A few more years of growing and I'll be ready. Lin Feng let out a short, cold laugh. But when he laughed, it was beautiful. The corners of his mouth curved up with effortless grace, his teeth white and even. Quite the nerve. I am a mountain bandit, you know. Tonight I'll let it pass, but tomorrow you must leave. Before he could finish, thunder suddenly boomed outside. A heavy rain began to fall. Lin Feng had no choice but to stay. I'll spread a quilt and sleep on the floor. Little girl, you have absolutely no understanding of the wickedness of the world. Remember, never let yourself get close to strange men. He really did spread his quilt on the floor. When he lay down, he closed his eyes and pretended to sleep. From this angle, his face looked even more striking. Chapter 2. This was not the first time I had met Lin Feng. I also knew that Lin Feng was only a false name. Half a year ago, when he raised his sword to save the Liu family, I had already seen half of his life. Born into a prestigious noble family, he had held a silver spoon from birth. He learned to read at 3, began training in martial arts at 5. In those years of thin spring robes, the young man had leaned languidly against a bridge astride his horse, while every tower and pavilion beckoned with crimson sleeves. The third son of the Shen family, equally accomplished in both letters and martial arts, dazzlingly brilliant. He was truly heaven's favored son. Yet heaven loves to torment its chosen. At 15, his family fell into ruin. He led the survivors of his clan through a prison break in flight, burying the dead with his own hands, watching with his own eyes as his grandfather was beheaded, bearing witness as his closest friends turned traitor. Every one of his ribs was broken, and yet he still carried within him a heart that yearned to save the world. I saw his former pride, his shattering, his humiliation, his endurance, and his unfinished great ambition. A person like this could only exist in ancient stories. In my eyes, he could not be described by 2 simple words: a man. The divine makes no distinction of gender. I simply felt that the road he was about to walk, over high mountains and deep waters, long and treacherous, was one I also wished to step onto and walk beside him for a stretch. That night, I slept unusually well, dreamlessly through till dawn. I usually dreamed of falling from a great height. My parents had invited renowned physicians to examine me, but none could find a cure. The next morning, I was awakened by voices outside the door. Lin Feng was speaking with someone. This is absurd. That child is nothing but a little girl. How could I consummate a marriage? She is genuinely a child. Would you have me act like a true bandit? I agreed to take a wife as people suggested, but to lay a hand on a little girl, that would be a sin. The one arguing with Lin Feng was the stronghold's advisor, Advisor Chang. a man of no ordinary standing who had once served as an imperial astronomer versed in divination and celestial signs. "Master, I speak the absolute truth. According to the hexagram, this young lady truly can help you turn misfortune into blessing," Lin Feng erupted. "She is only 15. How can she help me?" "Send her down the mountain immediately." Advisor Chung stamped his feet frantically. "Master, from the beginning of this year you have choked even on water, and nothing has gone right. You have to believe it now." I breathed a small sigh of relief. At least someone wanted to keep me here. I finished dressing, let my long hair hang loose, and walked straight outside. "Husband, please do not send me away. I am truly of use." Lin Feng looked like he had dark circles under his eyes. He clearly had not slept. "What can you do?" "Wash clothes and cook rice. Those things, I honestly do not know how to do." I shook my head. He asked again, "Sewing? Embroidery?" I stiffened. "I did not know those either." Lin Feng laughed softly. "Then tell me, what exactly do you know?" I thought for a long time and answered, "I know how to eat and how to sleep." Advisor Chung nearly dropped his jaw. Lin Feng was stunned, then waved his sleeve. "Someone, escort the fourth young lady of the Liu family down the mountain." He truly intended to send me away. I stepped close to Lin Feng, stood on tiptoe, leaned close to his ear, and whispered something about an event that would soon befall him. The prison rescue carried risks. Beware of assassins disguised as prisoners. Indeed, I had seen that Lin Feng would go to the capital to break prisoners out of jail. Censor Tao had pleaded on behalf of the condemned members of the Shen family, enraging the emperor, who ordered their execution. Among those prisoners, someone had planted a disguised agent, waiting for Lin Feng to fall into the trap. In that instant, Lin Feng's gaze sharpened. He seized my wrist and pulled me straight back into the room. The door slammed shut. Advisor Chung outside was bewildered. "Master, if there is something to discuss, discuss it calmly. Don't be rash, please, be gracious." Lin Feng clearly had no attention left for what was happening outside. The prison rescue was a classified operation. I was merely a sheltered girl from a noble family, yet I knew it as clearly as my own palm. He was naturally on the highest alert. I had no choice but to press close against his chest. He was wary of the height difference, so he gripped my waist and lifted me, setting me on the writing desk. Like that, the two of us were perfectly face to face. Lin Feng grabbed my throat, grinding out the words, "Who sent you?" The pain was enough, and I was the sort who cried easily, so tears immediately streamed down my face. I made up a story about a prophetic dream. "I saw it in a dream last night." Lin Feng naturally did not believe it, but a man as cautious as he would certainly have already investigated the Liu family thoroughly. My tears would not stop. Lin Feng released his hand. "Tell me the truth, or I'll feed you to the tiger." He was testing me, but I was not afraid at all, because I understood him better than he understood himself. I revealed another detail about him. "On your hip there is a scar. When you were young and went hunting, you were injured by a leopard. Am I right?" In those days, Lin Feng had still been the third son of the Shen family, reckless and fearless, secretly sneaking into the hunting grounds. Because of that, even when injured, he concealed it tightly and let no word leak out. Now you know this secret, and almost no one who was there still lives, and yet you clearly know it intimately. You must be someone he trusts absolutely, someone who would never betray him." Lin Feng stopped cold. I added, "Husband, I have never seen your hip. Outside of a prophetic dream, I have no way of knowing such a thing." Lin Feng stepped back, eyes full of suspicion, then began to pace the room back and forth. After a long silence, he finally spoke. I cannot fully trust you yet. But your prophetic dream must not be spoken of to anyone. Whether what you say is true or false, I will verify quickly. Until I have a conclusion, you are not to take a single step outside. I smiled and nodded. As long as you do not send me away, I understand, husband. Lin Feng seemed vexed. Do not call me husband. Yes, husband. I understand, husband. Lin Feng left the room and called for a woman to keep watch over me. For as long as I could remember, whenever I looked at a person, I could see their fate, yet I could never see my own. From childhood, I had no particular interests, nor did I understand what I was living for. Not until half a year ago, when I saw Lin Feng's destiny, did I finally find something I wanted to do. Lin Feng led his men away from the stronghold. The woman left to watch over me was still young, but on her face ran a long scar stretching from the corner of her eye to her cheek. She dressed like any ordinary woman of the stronghold, her manner gentle and approachable, but I could see her past. She had once been the beloved Princess Qingping, pampered beyond measure. She had also once been the second young mistress of the Shen family, Lin Feng's second sister-in-law. Both sons of the Shen family had fallen in battle on distant fronts. After the Shen family fell, Princess Qingping cast aside her identity, severed all ties with the imperial house, and resolved to meet her death. On the road of their flight, she had fought with everything she had to protect her critically endangered sister-in-law during a difficult labor, and received a blade across her face. The child she had risked her life to shield was none other than the young boy who had handed me the steamed bun the night before. Lin Ping'an. Lin Ping'an. May this child be safe and peaceful all his life. This child was like a small flame, and like a bright star, the hope of so many people. My tears fell without stopping. Simply seeing those things was enough to leave my heart in turmoil, and yet they had truly lived through every moment of it. Second sister-in-law quickly comforted me. Why are you crying? Did third brother bully you? Lin Ping'an chimed in. Little auntie, please don't cry. Everyone says the woman who married onto the mountain is here to bring good luck to little uncle. So you are his lucky star. I will protect little auntie. My chest tightened, and my mind was full of memories of their beautiful past. Such good and worthy people did not deserve an ending like this. That night, I dreamed of Lin Feng again. This time I saw him succeed in the prison break, and also smoothly evade the assassination attempt. Because he had been forewarned about the disguised assassin among the prisoners, he struck first and eliminated the threat in time. In the earlier vision, he had been stabbed in the abdomen and more than half of his companions had been wounded. Half a month later, in the dead of night, the stronghold lit great bonfires to welcome Lin Feng back with the members of the Tao family. The first thing he did upon returning was come to see me. He shut me in the room again and paced back and forth, his gaze quietly resting on me again and again. What you said came true. Do you often have prophetic dreams like this? And how did you come to know things about my past? The prophetic dream was only a fabrication, a cover for my ability. Afraid Lin Feng would find the holes in my story, I deflected, because advisor Chang said I am your lucky star, husband. You cannot send me away. If not for my good fortune, how could this mission have gone so smoothly? Lin Feng studied me again. Do not call me husband. You have not even grown into yourself yet. Do not go dreaming of being my wife. I replied, I am a woman. Give me another 3 years, and everything will be different. Inside the stronghold was a school, one teacher for letters, another for martial arts, kept separate. I was thrown in among the children. Lin Feng said, "Your body is weak. You need more training. Don't go dying inside the stronghold." What a sharp-tongued man. But I did not let it bother me. And beyond that, to my own surprise, I discovered I loved archery. Lin Feng taught me personally. After showing me the form only twice, I had already grasped the technique. On the very first day of practice, my palms blistered and bled, leaving me dazed and dreamy inside. I kept feeling as though these movements were already deeply familiar to me, yet I had clearly never studied them before. Lin Ping'an exclaimed in amazement, "Little auntie, your archery looks as though little uncle has been teaching you for years." "Little uncle is also left-handed, you know." Lin Feng frowned slightly, his gaze dropping to my palms. "Enough. We'll practice more another day." But I refused to listen and kept standing at the training ground, shooting until my arrow hit the center of the target. Lin Feng assessed me objectively. "You have a natural gift for aim, but your arm strength is too weak. To become truly skilled you will need to keep at it." I nodded vigorously. That night, second sister-in-law came to apply medicine. When she saw my palms scraped and bleeding, she could not help scolding a little. "Third brother has no sense of how to cherish a delicate thing. You are a young woman, and have never studied martial arts. How can you train as hard as this?" She added, "Little sister, don't take it to heart. Third brother is like that, tough on the outside, soft on the inside." I smiled faintly and looked down at my palms. They truly ached, but that pain made me feel as though I was genuinely, truly alive. Before this, I had felt as though I were only living as an outsider looking in, silently watching other people's stories unfold. When I was small, I once told my parents about my ability. They immediately summoned a Taoist priest to perform rites at my bedside for 3 days, and made me drink talismans. After that, I never mentioned it again. I did not know when Lin Feng had come to stand behind me. Second sister-in-law chided him, "She is still young. Unlike you, clumsy and thoughtless. You ought to learn how to be tender with a wife." Lin Feng reached up and scratched the bridge of his nose. I imagined him being quite awkward right then, wanting to keep me, yet feeling I was still too young. Second sister-in-law pressed the bandaging cloth into Lin Feng's hand. "Your wife. You bandage her yourself." After second sister-in-law left, Lin Feng stepped forward and bandaged my hands carefully, bit by bit. His movements were very light. His gaze held something difficult to read as he looked at me. "Lu Changning." He called my name. I answered softly. Our eyes met. At such close range, his face looked even more striking, his features clear and sharp. "If you wish to leave, just tell me." I tilted my head and smiled. "But I am your wife." A husband and wife should never part nor abandon one another. The man's hands paused for a moment, his long lashes stirring slightly, and then he gave a low laugh. "Wait until you're a little older. You might change your mind." In the stronghold, several women went into labor, and second sister-in-law was busy assisting with the births. Back in the Lu family household, I had not known how to do anything. I could not even dress my own hair. Hearing that 3 or 4 women had gone into labor since early morning, second sister-in-law was unlikely to return anytime soon. My hair was a tangled mess. I went to find Lin Feng. He looked thoroughly surprised. "What is it?" I held out my comb to him. I did not know how to do my own hair. Lin Feng forced a laugh or two, dry and hollow, like a chrysanthemum wilting in cold autumn wind. With no other choice, he combed my hair himself. He was clearly not practiced at this either. After fussing for half the morning, he still could not manage to put it up. In the end, he simply braided my hair into 2 plain plaits. I looked in the mirror. I thought it was fine enough. Husband, you are quite skilled, Lin Feng muttered. Just consider it braiding rope. When second sister-in-law found out, she flatly refused to take care of my hair anymore. From that point on, she handed the task entirely over to Lin Feng, and so, every morning, he would drag me out of bed, press me down onto a small stool, and grumble the whole time while he braided my hair. Days drifted by. I grew accustomed to rising early, training with everyone in the mornings. Beyond learning martial arts, archery, and horsemanship, there was also swimming to study. Every skill was something that could save a life in a moment of danger. It was the height of summer, the ideal time for swimming practice. Though I was only Lin Feng's wife in name, we still had to wait until deep night before he brought me to the pond behind the mountain. He would keep one arm around my waist to hold me afloat at the surface. Before long, Lin Feng suddenly noticed something. "Why are you still not as developed as me?" I looked down at my own chest, then glanced at Lin Feng's firm, broad one. Ah! There was indeed quite a difference. I felt suddenly bashful. "They'll grow later," I said seriously. Lin Feng burst out laughing, not the cold, restrained laughter of his usual self, but something carrying a hint of the carefree abandon he must have had in his youth. I knew he had been burdened with many worries lately and had not laughed like that in a long time. So I said, "I dreamed of the woman in the palace. She has not gone mad. She is living fairly peacefully right now, and there is no shortage of food or clothing in the palace." In those days, the Shen noble consort had been the most favored woman in the inner palace. After the Shen family fell, she was stripped of her title and reduced to Shen beauty. Her 7-month child had been forcibly aborted. From then on, she appeared to have gone mad, but in truth it was only a performance to protect herself. She was waiting for a spark to be lit. The emperor who had once loved her to the point of madness had shattered their union, forced her into the palace, and clipped her wings, imprisoning her in a gilded cage. The eldest daughter of the Shen family had once been the pride of a noble general's household, brilliant and strong in the capital's light. I had once had the fortune of glimpsing her on the main street. In that moment, beneath the soft moonlight, a glimmer of tears passed through Lin Feng's eyes, but the corners of his mouth curved gently upward. Good. That night, the two of us bathed separately. I lay in bed, he still lay on his quilt on the floor. Then, all of a sudden, he became uncharacteristically talkative. "Lu Changning, you know too many of my secrets. Tell me, what should I do with you? We share the same room. What more could you possibly worry about?" Lin Feng suddenly flared up. "You are a child. Don't go saying ridiculous things, but you are only a little over 20 yourself." The stronghold had been quiet for several days, and today it became lively again. Xu Jiao and Fatty Ye had returned from an outside mission. Hearing that Lin Feng had taken a wife, the group hurried back to the stronghold, everyone eager to meet me. Lin Feng made no move to stop them, only he deliberately tied an extra red silk ribbon into my braids. A butterfly bow, a little crooked, but quite pretty to look at. Xu Jiao was dressed like a merchant, the stronghold's minister of revenue, responsible for earning and spending money. His manner was refined and elegant, his bearing handsome, his smile warm and approachable. But I saw a vast sea of fire. He had walked out of those flames carrying the wife he had only recently wed. The Jiao family had been destroyed. He, a second son from a lesser branch, was the sole survivor. I also saw years of carefully gathered evidence of the Jiao family's corruption, all burned to ash in those flames. Xu Jiao had once sought death, but advisor Chang had knocked him unconscious and forcibly carried him out of the capital. Now Xu Jiao smiled and handed me a bright red envelope. I returned late and missed the wedding banquet. My lady, please do not hold a grudge, I smiled and took the red envelope. I wanted to say something, but by the time the words reached my lips, they felt utterly powerless. I wanted everyone to be saved, but the truth was that the person who could save them was not me. When I came face to face with Fatia, I saw her parents. Her mother had been a vanguard general under the Shen family's command, best known for wielding a meteor hammer. While shielding the commander and breaking through the encirclement, her mother had been killed by a storm of stray arrows. Fatia had been only 3 years old at the time. She had witnessed everything with her own eyes, and suffered a severe fever. When she recovered, her physical strength was never what it had been before. Everyone in the stronghold adored her. She ate heartily, and her figure had grown round and full. Then suddenly I saw it, a vision of her, too heavy to run in time, pierced through the chest by an enemy spear. My chest seized. The tears came without stopping, until I could barely breathe. Everyone was stunned. I pointed at Fatia and declared, "No more. She absolutely cannot keep eating like this. I am punishing her to run 20 laps around the training ground every single day." No one understood. But advisor Chang and Xu Jiao were people of propriety. They did not press me with questions. Lin Feng immediately held me. "Speak slowly. What is it this time?" I pressed close to his ear and whispered what I had seen. Lin Feng's expression changed at once. He gave the order immediately. "Someone, keep close watch on Fatia. From today, she gets 1 bowl of rice per meal. 20 laps around the training ground each day. Not 20. 30, Lin Feng was tense. He was even more worried about Fatia than he was about me, but Fatia didn't understand. She glared at both me and Lin Feng in fury. "Master, you take a wife and then forget me, you're both horrible." Scolded and all, she still obediently went off to run her laps. Lin Feng brought me back to the room. He gently patted my back, voice softening as he asked, "Is your life very hard?" I looked up at him in surprise. Compared to all of them, I had truly never wanted for food or clothing. An age of declining kingdoms, so few survivors. Even the Lu family, small merchants as we were pushed to the brink and forced to flee south. Lin Feng let out a faint sigh. "You always know too much. You must be exhausted inside as well." I was stunned for a long moment. From childhood until now, this was the first time anyone had truly understood me. Seeing other people's fates while being unable to change anything. Could one word, suffering, ever capture that fully? Fatia began her training. Every morning she ran 30 laps without fail, and at every meal she was allowed only 1 extra chicken drumstick. Lin Feng watched over her like a younger sister, having someone check on her every day. In just 2 months, Fatia's clothes already hung noticeably looser. Lin Ping'an observed sincerely, "Fatia, you've been so much faster lately, and your footwork is steadier too." Little auntie only meant well. Every day we all trained together. Every time Fatia saw me, she gave 2 loud huffs. But now I smiled at her. Fatia stamped her foot. "Humph. As expected, pretty girls are all villains. Not letting me eat chicken legs. If that's not evil, what is?" I pressed my lips together to hide my laugh. She was complimenting me on being pretty, wasn't she? I replied. You're very pretty too, Fatia. Fatia stomped harder. Don't try to bewitch me, heavens, I knew it. She was still complimenting me. Not just anyone could be called a fox spirit. I felt genuinely delighted. She was definitely still praising me. That afternoon, after training was done, I rushed to bathe and then dug out the set of clothes my mother had prepared for me. Once dressed, I ran straight to Lin Feng and spun around to show off. Every woman loves beauty. I was no different. After so long at Lin Feng's side, I had grown to like him more and more. Every time I saw him, I felt as though I were meeting a long-lost dear one after years apart. Lin Feng looked me over a few times, then turned his face away. Little demon, so you've learned to dress up. Training and studying, those are what matter. Stop worrying about pointless things, I nodded. Yes, husband is right. Lin Feng hesitated as if about to say something, then let it go. He no longer objected to me calling him husband, but suddenly, darkness swam before my eyes. Lin Feng caught me quickly. In the dizzy blur, I saw more things. It turned out that last time, when Xu Jiao and Fatia went out on a mission, they had been traveling to the northwest to sell refined salt. Lin Feng held the secret technique for producing refined salt. The stronghold had many mouths to feed, and hunting and farming alone were not enough to sustain them. Not wanting to truly become pillaging bandits, he had no choice but to take this risk. Not only did he carry the burden of family vengeance and national debt, he also bore responsibility for the lives of several thousand people in the stronghold. The northwest was vast and remote, the imperial reach struggling to extend so far, so smuggling salt was harder to detect. For several years it had gone smoothly, but this time, the Salt Merchant Guild of the Northwest had colluded with the authorities, tracked Xu Jiao and his group's movements, and finally traced the location of the stronghold. Lin Feng asked, "What did you see?" He no longer simply believed I had dreamed the future, but I did not tell him, and he did not press. I steadied myself and said urgently, "Strengthen the defenses immediately. Someone has already infiltrated the stronghold. They mean to swallow this place whole." I recounted everything I had just seen. Lin Feng's expression changed drastically. He called together everyone for an emergency meeting. A few of the key figures in the stronghold still had not fully trusted me. Even Xu Jiao was skeptical. I was careful to erase all traces of our path. Even if the other side wanted to go back on their word, surely they'd fear the thousands of brothers in the stronghold, I said. They've colluded with the authorities, and they've also brought in the canal-side gangs. Xu Jiao started. How does my lady know this? I had no way to explain. At this moment Lin Feng spoke up. Trust her, everyone. Advisor Chang, ever one for mystical ways, cast a divination and smiled. Though the lady is young, she does not speak carelessly. This matter is serious. Let us all take care. So the entire stronghold heightened its vigilance. Everyone in the stronghold trained in martial arts. Once trouble came, every person could take up a weapon and charge into battle. I took up my bow and went to scout the situation myself. Lin Feng and his group had already concealed themselves in the shadows. Lin Ping'an, Fatia, and I hid behind a stack of hay. 3 heads poked out simultaneously, and sure enough, more than 100 people were stealthily entering the stronghold, killing even the patrol guards. But the stronghold's exits were laid with traps and formations. Without a guide, it was very easy to lose all sense of direction. The men leading the group were whispering among themselves. 3 years of tracking, and we've finally found the lair. As long as we get the salt refining formula, the silver will flow like water. The ones responsible were hard to trace. If not for our canal brothers lending a hand, we might never have found the trail. Once we seize the technique, kill them all, and report the deed to the court. One arrow, two targets. The stronghold's refined salt was far cheaper than government salt. Common people could afford it, but if someone with corrupt ambitions monopolized the illicit salt trade, even getting refined salt would become a luxury for ordinary folk. Fatia ground her teeth. Just then, from the darkness came a sharp whistle. A hawk burst into the air. Someone exclaimed in shock, "Deep in these mountains and they've trained a hawk. Don't underestimate them." The person beside him sneered back, "What's there to fear? At most they're just mountain bandits." Before the words had even faded, wild beast roars thundered through the air. The intruders went pale. Lin Feng and his squad had brought their black leopards forward, the stronghold's mechanisms activated simultaneously, the gates slammed shut. Tonight, no one would leave. I raised my bow and, by the light of the moon, shot one person with a single arrow. Fatia swung her meteor hammer and plunged straight into the fray. Lin Ping'an kept his calm and surveyed the whole field, calling out enemy positions to me in timely warnings. He was a born commander. In him I could see the shadow of the Shen family's eldest son. In less than half an hour, the battle was over. Those who had called themselves martial world elites screamed in utter terror. These people are terrifying. They are truly terrifying. I lowered my bow, reasonably satisfied with my own showing, though my arm strength was still too weak. Without a guide, it was very easy to lose all sense of direction. The men leading the group were whispering among themselves, 3 years of tracking, and we've finally found the lair. As long as we get the salt refining formula, the silver will flow like water. The ones responsible were hard to trace. If not for our canal brothers lending a hand, we might never have found the trail. Once we seize the technique, kill them all, and report the deed to the court. One arrow, two targets. The stronghold's refined salt was far cheaper than government salt. Common people could afford it, but if someone with corrupt ambitions monopolized the illicit salt trade, even getting refined salt would become a luxury for ordinary folk. Fatia ground her teeth. Just then, from the darkness came a sharp whistle. A hawk burst into the air. Someone exclaimed in shock, "Deep in these mountains and they've trained a hawk. Don't underestimate them." The person beside him sneered back, "What's there to fear? At most they're just mountain bandits." Before the words had even faded, wild beast roars thundered through the air. The intruders went pale. Lin Feng and his squad had brought their black leopards forward, the stronghold's mechanisms activated simultaneously, the gates slammed shut. Tonight, no one would leave. I raised my bow and, by the light of the moon, shot one person with a single arrow. Fatia swung her meteor hammer and plunged straight into the fray. Lin Ping'an kept his calm and surveyed the whole field, calling out enemy positions to me in timely warnings. He was a born commander. In him I could see the shadow of the Shen family's eldest son. In less than half an hour, the battle was over. Those who had called themselves martial world elites screamed in utter terror. These people are terrifying. They are truly terrifying. I lowered my bow, reasonably satisfied with my own showing, though my arm strength was still too weak. Fatia came panting over and, seeing me rubbing my back and then my hands, broke into a wide grin. "You are an embroidered pillow, all looks and no substance." I did not take offense, only laughed. "An embroidered pillow? Well, that's still beautiful." Fatia pursed her lips. Still angry at me for not letting you eat chicken legs. To be honest, I'm not praising you. You really are terrible. I laughed even more happily. She was definitely still praising me. Lin Feng ordered all surviving prisoners hauled away. The stronghold had a mountain cavern used specifically for holding enemies. In the third watch of the night, agonized screams rang out from the cavern. After barely half an hour of interrogation, the prisoners scrambled over each other to confess. I'll talk. We came here to take lives. We brought poison and scattered glowing powder as signals. The people below the mountain are already on their way up. There are also government officials and martial world forces involved. Lin Feng laughed coldly. With one flip of his blade, he cleanly slit a throat to silence them. Xu Jiao gave a cold snort. The world is in chaos, all for profit. The alliance of officials and merchants, the suffering of the people. Everything my lady said was right. Advisor Chang looked overjoyed. When people chose this woman as the master's wife, she naturally had to be a lucky star. I went to considerable lengths when negotiating with the Liu family. At this, Lin Feng seemed to realize something. He narrowed his eyes. You knew from the very beginning she was just a young girl, Advisor Chang replied breezily. Only her birth characters were compatible. Master, she is your wife. Is it so bad to raise her for a few more years? The killing intent had not yet faded from Lin Feng's body, and now an inexplicable fire ignited in addition. The immediate danger had been resolved, but the matter was not yet over. When handling affairs of state, Lin Feng was supremely meticulous, almost never betraying his emotions on his face. The following night, the forces lying in wait at the foot of the mountain were lured up to the stronghold. Lin Feng swept them up like netting fish in a barrel. Those who deserved death were killed, those who could still be used were kept for interrogation. He then traced the leads back to the Canal Gang's branch base and negotiated with them directly. Lin Feng did not mince words. If you refuse to cooperate, I will wipe you out entirely. If you agree, you will have a share in the illicit salt trade going forward. Men of the martial world respect strength. It was easier to reason with them than with officials. If the Canal Gang joined, Xu Jiao would no longer need to personally manage the trading routes. Lin Feng told me. In this world there are 1,000 ways to deal with people, but intimidation and temptation are the most effective. I nodded. I agreed completely. The Canal Gang ultimately conceded, and even handed over evidence of the crimes committed by the corrupt officials in the Northwest. Lin Feng gathered all the evidence and sent it directly to the Office of Censors. The censor in question was his maternal uncle. On the surface, the man had long since declared he had severed all ties with the Shen family. In truth, when Lin Feng had broken out of prison years before, the man had also lent his hand. The censor recognized Lin Feng's brushwork, immediately arranged an imperial audience, and submitted a memorial denouncing the Northwestern officials, uprooting them entirely. All those appointed to replace them belonged to the reformist faction. Lin Feng and the censor had been quietly weaving their own influence throughout the court. The stronghold held a great feast to celebrate. Advisor Chang even bought many candied hawthorn sticks for the children. I was given one as well. I took a bite and held the rest out to Lin Feng's lips. Lin Feng froze, but in the end, he opened his mouth and took a bite. Fatia licked her own candied hawthorn and pointed at the two of us, giggling shamelessly. How embarrassing. What do the storytellers call this? Oh right, an indirect kiss. I thought it was funny, but before I could react, Lin Feng had already picked up a switch and was chasing Fatia with it. Fatia could run fast now, but she misjudged the ground and tripped, sending herself flying. Born with strength beyond the ordinary, now trained daily, she was becoming a lean little girl who could wield a great meteor hammer. Even so, Lin Feng spent considerable effort catching her. Fatty wailed, "Master. What are you hitting me for?" I said, "Nothing wrong. Isn't it perfectly normal for a husband and wife to kiss?" For some inexplicable reason, Lin Feng looked briefly flustered. For the next 2 days, he kept himself busy without pause. Every time he came to the room it was already after I had fallen asleep. After leading his people to the stronghold, Lin Feng had taken in all the wild beasts in the region and slowly tamed them. Lin Ping'an was raising a tiger on his own. Today the tigress was in labor. I made a bet with Fatty that the cub would be male. Fatty pouted, "But I want a female cub." "What makes you so sure it'll be male?" I put on a mysterious air. "I just know." Fatty, never one to guard her words. "Then tell me, the child you and Master have someday, will it be a boy or a girl?" I paused for a moment. Because the future between me and Lin Feng was a complete blank. Could it be that because I could not see my own fate, I also could not see our child? But Lin Feng did indeed have a daughter in the future, only I could not tell who the mother was. I said honestly, "Husband will have a daughter." Lin Ping'an and Fatty noticed nothing strange in that. Lin Ping'an asked, "Then what will my future be?" I looked carefully at the young man's face. And then I saw it. In a blaze of crimson sunset, he picked up the long spear of General Shen, stepped onto the road that generations of his Shen family ancestors had walked, guarding the frontier, protecting the realm. I replied, "In time, you will be a hero whose name lives through the ages." Fatty bounced with excitement. "And me? What about me?" Fatty's fate had changed. She would not be killed by a single spear thrust. Instead, she would don an official's robe as a female censor, straightening the court's affairs, tongue sharp as a blade against the assembled ministers. A female censor? I burst out laughing. Because in the future, corrupt officials and treacherous ministers, they'll all flee the moment they see you. Fatty was both clever and formidable in a fight, truly unmatched in this world. She was not foolish at all, on the contrary, she was sharp-witted beyond measure. Unbeknownst to me, Lin Feng had come to stand behind me, arms folded, gaze idle yet carrying a hint of a smile. I imagined he must have been dreaming of the future too. From that day on, Lin Feng drew closer to me again, personally teaching me martial arts. Every time he knocked me down, I got back up. "Come on." Lin Feng helped me build on my strengths and make up for my weaknesses. He said, "Rest a while if you're tired." I said, "I'm fine. Let's keep going." The more stubborn I was, the more seriously he took the training. A year passed. I could shoot 100 arrows and hit 100 targets. Not skilled in close combat, but expert with a bow and arrow, perfectly suited for long-range strike, and occasionally I could even exchange a few moves with Lin Feng. My hands had grown firm and strong, my palms calloused. Another summer came. I still waited until deep night to go down and swim, and by now I could hold my breath underwater for quite a while. Lin Feng taught me underwater combat techniques. But somehow, with time, our movements grew stranger and stranger. Before long, Lin Feng had surfaced abruptly. I was surprised. "Husband, you're already out of breath today." Lin Feng's gaze froze, and then he tilted his head, shielded his eyes, and looked east, looked west. "Enough. You've learned what you need. No more swimming." When he climbed ashore, his clothes clung to his body. I suddenly noticed something, and my mouth fell open. You, Lin Feng flushed with embarrassed anger and immediately turned his back. "Don't shout. You know perfectly well you're a man." I mean, you know perfectly well you're a woman. Can you please behave? He strode away. I blinked. My heart was suddenly pounding, right? He was a man. And we were husband and wife. I had always thought of him as a divine savior and forgotten that he was also just a person made of blood and flesh. That night, Lin Feng tossed and turned and could not sleep. My hearing had grown sharp. The slightest sound woke me. I said, "Husband, you're doing fine. Stop rolling around." Lin Feng's voice was hoarse. "I'm not rolling." His voice grew quieter. "Mother and elder sister have finally written. Elder sister is engaged, and she is with child." Mother wrote asking, "Chang Ning, have you and fourth master consummated the marriage? This past year, the Liu family has finally found its footing, all thanks to fourth master's people quietly protecting us." It turned out Lin Feng had been silently guarding my family the whole time. Not once had he breathed a word of it. I shook my head and told her, "Husband says to wait until I am a little older." Mother was impatient and tooted, "Nonsense. When I was your age, I was already carrying your eldest sister. Your elder sister is also winking at me. The fourth master is handsome and strong. Listen to your sister. Once you consummate the marriage, you'll understand the mystery of it." Did I not want to consummate the marriage? No. The truth was, he simply had no interest in me at all. My little assets could not even compare to his. After mother and elder sister left, they left behind a large sandalwood box. I opened it to find it full of strange and peculiar objects. Clever as I was, I naturally understood what they were, but I pretended not to know, and deliberately took out each item one by one to ask Lin Feng about them. "Husband, mother says these are all precious gifts for us. But how does one use these things?" Lin Feng spat out his entire mouthful of cold tea. Inside my heart was a riot of complicated feelings. Not for nothing was he the dashing young man who had once set the capital's hearts aflutter. He clearly understood a great deal. Lin Feng reacted lightning fast, snatching all the items back into the box and locking it firmly with an iron lock. Then he adopted a stern expression and delivered a lecture. "You are still young. There are some things you should not learn too early. It will interfere with your studies and training." "Oh? Is that so?" Mother had also sent a few tonics. I took them for 3 days in a row, and sure enough, my monthly cycle arrived. Though it was my first time, I was not entirely unprepared. I had watched all 3 of my elder sisters go through it before. Back from the training ground, Fatia noticed I was unwell and came to check on me. I told her the truth. Her eyes lit up. From then on, she forgot entirely about chicken legs and pork trotters and stuck to me every single day. Now she's become Lenya, I thought. She bounced excitedly. "You're about to have a baby. A woman's monthly cycle means she can be a mother. There must already be a child in your belly. Did the master secretly slip a little baby into your stomach while you weren't looking?" I opened my mouth but could not find words, because Lin Feng was standing right beside us. So in the end, I finally experienced what it felt like to be embarrassed. Fatia kept asking, utterly fascinated, "Master, how many babies did you put in the lady's belly?" Our she-wolf had 2 this time. Lin Feng's rugged face instantly turned scarlet. He wiped his face and pointed at Fatia. "Starting today, you take the night watch for a full month. If you have energy to spare, lose some sleep." Fatia frowned and muttered under her breath, but she still went obediently to collect the night watch token. On those days each month, Lin Feng did not return to the room but slept together with Lin Ping'an. As winter arrived, the relief funds from the imperial court finally began to flow south. The suffering people had been waiting day after day, and yet I could not rejoice. Because I had seen a vision of living people and devastation, of the imperial army surrounding and attacking Black Wind's stronghold, and of Xu Jiao and advisor Chang dying horribly in pools of blood, I woke from the nightmare and immediately leaped from bed, running straight to Lin Feng's room. The night was deep and cold, and he was wearing only thin sleeping clothes, covered with just a single blanket. He seemed entirely immune to the cold. When I threw myself into his arms, he shot upright almost instantly and held me tightly. Lin Feng asked anxiously, "What is it?" I trembled and spoke. "The relief silver being transferred from the capital to the south. It is going to go missing. The local officials here will report chaos to the court and claim Black Wind's stronghold stole the silver. Come spring, the court will dispatch troops to pacify the stronghold." I gripped his lapels tightly, my gaze resolute. "We must reclaim the relief silver. It is still in the south, only hidden away by corrupt officials." Lin Feng's gaze went cold as ice in an instant. He gently patted my back to comfort me. "I know. Don't be afraid. I am here," I nodded. If the silver was not recovered, the disaster victims would not survive the winter. I understood more and more clearly why heaven had given me the ability to see ahead. It was not a calamity, it was a gift. That night, Lin Feng immediately convened the key figures of the stronghold. I was assigned to one of the action teams. Because of my skill at long-range archery, I was placed in the covering position at the rear. Lin Feng was at ease having me join the archer squad. In a single night, the government treasury was swept clean. The relief silver was taken in its entirety, then divided among groups and quietly distributed to each household of disaster victims. The next morning, just as dawn broke, people began opening their doors and kneeling to bow toward the horizon. They did not know who had brought them the silver, but they knew that hope still existed in this world. The sky would grow light again. Once the relief silver reached the hands of the people, the officials had no further grounds to pin the crime on Black Wind's stronghold. Everything should have ended there. But before the new year even arrived, the price of grain in the city skyrocketed. The silver the people held could only buy a little food, and that food had been purchased cheaply by the local authorities from merchants, stockpiled, and sold as a monopoly. Aside from a few government-designated grain shops, nowhere else was selling. Lin Feng erupted in fury and drove his fist through the wooden table. Fatty Ye understood the scheme immediately, planted her hands on her hips, and cursed at the top of her lungs. Shameless. Brazen and without a shred of self-respect. They were bloodsuckers draining the people dry, vermin, a plague, absolute scoundrels. Fatty Ye was truly beginning to show her talent for cursing. Everyone in the stronghold fell silent. Most of them were descendants of loyal subjects, persecuted scholars, or ordinary decent folk. In every heart, a fire surged. Lin Feng stood at the cliff's edge, letting the wind hit him. I went to find him and gently rested a hand on his shoulder. "Husband, a festering sore must be cut out at the root. You cannot keep pushing it down. You understand the current situation better than anyone. Then be bold and press forward. There is no need to hesitate. As long as there are still people who want to change the way of the world, and still people who dare to act, the day of transformation will come, sooner or later. The most frightening thing is losing faith. Only while the heart still holds light can one keep walking. Once the heart has died, there is truly no saving it." Lin Feng looked at me in silence. Then, without warning, he pulled me into his arms, tightly. Until I felt something odd pressing against me, and I spoke up. Husband, it seems something is poking me. Lin Feng let go of me. He looked me over twice, and a faint flush rose on his striking face. A little bigger than before. More than me, at that. I followed his gaze and understood immediately what he meant. I looked down at my own chest, then glanced at Lin Feng several times. Something inexplicable possessed me, and my hand reached out before I knew it and gave a little squeeze. Lin Feng startled back 2 steps at once, looking as though he feared I might try something again. He crossed his arms over his chest and adopted a stern tone. What sort of behavior is this? I tilted my head. We are husband and wife. Am I not allowed to touch you? Lin Feng was at a loss for words. He glanced around to make sure no one was watching, then relaxed slightly. Outside the room you must not do such things. I caught his meaning at once. So inside the room, it would be permitted. Lin Feng neither nodded nor shook his head. I took that as silent consent. Deep winter, dead of night, cold that pierced to the bone. The mountain only made it colder. I called Lin Feng up to share the bed. The room was unlit, the darkness making his eyes look even deeper. His voice was low and rough. You truly only want warmth, nothing else intended? I asked in return. Husband, what exactly are you afraid of? It is not as though I could force you into anything. Lin Feng, provoked, finally stood up from his floor mat and climbed onto the bed. I curled into his arms in the most natural way. It truly was warm. Lin Feng lay rigid as a board, not moving a single inch. I, on the other hand, fell soundly asleep within moments. The next morning I woke to find him already gone. No one was in the room. Why hadn't he woken me? He was supposed to braid my hair. Before dark, second sister-in-law brought a basin of burning charcoal. Little sister, third brother said you were cold, so burn a little for warmth. I was still wondering about it when a message came from Lin Feng. He would be staying with the young master for several days to discuss national strategies. Lin Ping'an was naturally gifted and sharp. What could Lin Feng possibly need to teach him? I did not call him out on it. Days passed like this until the 30th of the new year, when Lin Feng returned from outside. As he walked toward me, his gaze was deep as burning embers, enough to leave my heart in disorder, scorched by that look. Why was it like this? I could no longer even meet his eyes directly. Lin Feng produced a length of red silk and gave it to me. Tie it in your hair. It will look beautiful. I accepted the silk. Then handed him a pair of knee pads I had prepared. Second sister-in-law helped me make them. They will keep your knees warm when riding. Lin Feng took them. The air between the two of us immediately turned strange. Fortunately, the whole stronghold was gathered together to stay up through the night and welcome the new year. Someone mentioned their wish for the year. To return to the capital one day, to offer incense to their ancestors. The Shen family has only me left. I must also go to pay my respects. Good Lord, my mouth is craving again. I miss the braised duck at Wanchun Tower and the pear blossom white wine. Lin Feng tilted his head and spoke in a voice only the two of us could hear. What is your wish? I looked at him carefully. We sat close together, our breaths mingling. Suddenly in my mind there was only one thought. I wondered what those fine lips would feel like to kiss. So I leaned toward his ear and said, simply and honestly, I wanted to kiss him. Lin Feng immediately sat up ramrod straight, his hands suddenly not knowing where to put themselves. That night, he walked me back to the room. I had thought he would go sleep with Ping'an again. But the moment the door closed, I was pressed against it. Lin Feng stared at me for a long moment in silence, and then he scooped me up, turned, and set me on the table. The instant I was seated on it, his hand was at the back of my neck, tilting my head as he leaned down and kissed me. I had no time to react. I had no experience. But I could tell he had none either. Then very quickly, Lin Feng let instinct take over. The kiss came so suddenly that my heart pounded and my mind went blank. In that dim, darkened room, the two of us were like accomplices in some deeply transgressive act, like two lovers secretly, clumsily fumbling, both of us flustered and breathless. It was only when I let out a small sound of pain that Lin Feng stopped. He stepped back, his hands dropping to his sides. My little flower-patterned jacket, several buttons had come undone. His breathing was uneven, mine was ragged. Then, all at once, he turned his back. I'll go sleep with Ping'an. You rest early. I stood dazed for a long time. Because just then I had seen a vision, like a painting drifting on water, wavering in and out. In it, I and Lin Feng stood hand in hand, his eyes flushed an unnatural red, his voice tight as he said through gritted teeth, "Only crying now? Far too late. Who told you to keep provoking me?" It was terrifying. Thank goodness he had stopped himself in time. From that night on, I became obediently well-behaved and stopped deliberately teasing Lin Feng. And he grew busier than ever before, occasionally sharing a meal with me, sometimes bringing things back from below the mountain, things for a woman to use. In early spring, second sister-in-law brought an armful of clothing, smiling so broadly her eyes nearly disappeared. Third brother especially asked me to prepare more things for you. He said the undergarments closest to your body no longer fit. I can see you've grown much taller too. My face turned scarlet. How had Lin Feng known that? The stronghold's meals were generous, meat at every sitting. Since coming up the mountain, I had grown stronger and healthier by the day. With daily martial arts training and a heartier appetite, I had indeed grown considerably compared to before. Second sister-in-law caught my flustered expression and softly asked, "Still not consummated the marriage?" I did not answer directly, only changed the subject. Second sister-in-law, where is husband? A faint shadow of sorrow crossed second sister-in-law's eyes. She did not press further about Lin Feng and me, only said, "Third brother has gone into the capital. He also asked me to tell you, if you still haven't learned to do your own hair, I'll help." I did not refuse. For over a year, it had always been Lin Feng who combed and braided my hair. I still had not learned to do it myself. This trip, Lin Feng was gone for a very long time. Not until midsummer, half a year later, did he return with Fatty Ye and the others. During his absence there were hawk-carried letters, but each one held only a few short lines. All is going smoothly. I am safe. Do not miss me. And yet when I saw him, he was visibly thinner, his jaw rough with stubble, and lodged in his back was an arrow. Fatty Ye blurted it out at once, "My lady, the master has been wounded several times over the past half-year. He would not let me tell you, but that arrow in his back, he deliberately left it there so you would see it." Lin Feng's expression went rigid. Advisor Cheng beside him scolded, "Talking nonsense. This is a barbed arrow, one wrong move and it could be fatal." Lin Feng's face went white. He spat. "The camp physician has long been on standby. Second sister-in-law is already on her way with the medicine chest." If Lin Feng being wounded has become routine, even after half a year apart, everyone moved with practiced coordination. No panic at all. Just then, I suddenly saw it. The barb was lodged against a tendon and vessel. I quickly stopped them. "Do not pull it straight out. Use a scalpel to cut around it." avoid the tendon, and then ease it out slowly. By now, everyone in the stronghold trusted completely in what I said. Fatia exclaimed in shock. And here I thought the master was feigning injury to make my lady fret over him. Everyone in the room exchanged glances. Fatia looked more and more like a great thinker. I gave the order immediately. Bring strong spirits. Heat a blade over flame and pour the spirits over it to sterilize. In this heat, the wound must not fester. The camp physician followed every instruction. The process of extracting the arrow went, overall, smoothly. Second sister-in-law had to carry out 2 large basins of blood. Fatia's eyes turned red. Master, you don't have an heir yet. Whatever you do, don't die. Lin Feng's face was as white as paper. The physician examined the arrow carefully and sighed. Fortunate that my lady gave warning in time. Otherwise, the master would have bled to death. The barbs were unusually sharp and larger than ordinary. An average person struck by this arrow would struggle to keep their life. Lin Feng could not lie on his back, only face down. He turned his head and looked at me. Just before losing consciousness, he curved his lips in what seemed like a proud smirk. You've grown. I stayed by his side every moment, keeping watch. I had a constant feeling that this scene had happened before. While Lin Feng was unconscious, I was summoned to the War Council chamber. All those present were figures who had once held great prestige, each older than me. And yet in that moment, every one of them listened attentively and respectfully, waiting for what I would say. All preparations are now in place. All that is lacking is the east wind. My lady, please give us your direction. What should our next move be? I had long since grasped the full picture. I said plainly, all factions within the capital have already been positioned. The remnants of the Shen family army have also made contact. There is no reason to delay any further. Wait for my husband to recover, and then we move immediately. Everyone nodded in unison. No one objected. This was what all of them had been waiting for so long. I saw second sister-in-law clutching in her hands the jade twin flower sword that the Shen family's second son had once wielded. She tilted her head back and stared at the ceiling, as though trying to keep her tears from falling. She was of the imperial bloodline. And she too wanted to overthrow this dynasty. That showed how thoroughly rotten everything had become. After everyone dispersed, I called second sister-in-law back. Second sister-in-law. She turned to look at me, the same warm smile as always. What is it, little sister? She had never once complained, and yet she had borne wounds beyond counting. I only smiled. Sometimes words are the most powerless things in the world. I like you very much, second sister-in-law. Second sister-in-law also smiled. I like you too, little sister. Since you came to the stronghold, everything has gone more smoothly. You are our lucky star. Afterward, I personally took care of Lin Feng. It would not have been an exaggeration to say I did not leave his side. 3 days later, he finally regained consciousness, his fever broken. When he opened his eyes, I was leaning over him, passing water from my mouth to his. The man froze, stunned. The stubble on his chin, I had already shaved it clean. At that moment, looking at him, his whole face wore a rare and unguarded expression. I showed not the slightest embarrassment. I only said, while you were unconscious, at first I used a spoon to give you water, but after several times like that, your lips chafed raw. So I used this way instead. And besides, you were lying face down. It was the only approach that worked. Now that you're awake, you can drink yourself. Lin Feng's lips moved slightly. as though faintly disappointed, but immediately after, the pallor of his face began to flush. "There are no clothes. Only a thin layer of gauze covered him," I explained. "You had a severe fever for days on end, so I had to remove all your clothes. Every half hour I wiped down your entire body. Without clothes it was more convenient." Lin Feng. In the heat of midsummer, even after the fever had broken, the body still needed to be wiped down at regular intervals. By evening, when I lifted the thin gauze to wipe him down, Lin Feng's whole body went taut, the muscles of his back rising in distinct lines. I said gently, "Husband, I have already seen everything. Every part is very beautiful. There is no need to be bashful." The man's hand, each knuckle clearly defined, gripped the edge of the thin blanket tightly. It was really quite endearing. Lin Feng's constitution was truly exceptional. Only days later, he was able to get out of bed. The moment he stood steady, he pulled me into his arms. My hands instinctively braced against his chest, and I had to tilt my head back to look straight into his eyes. Lin Feng, as if having made a decision, was unusually shameless today. His voice was low and rough. "Have you missed me these past 6 months?" I narrowed my eyes at him. "Didn't you used to call me a little girl? Said you'd send me away sooner or later? How is it that you're already calling yourself husband now?" Lin Feng's throat moved. I immediately sensed danger. She is grown now. No longer the same as before. I tried to push him away. "Your wound isn't healed yet. Don't do anything rash." Lin Feng would not let go. He leaned down to kiss me, murmuring under his breath, "At least let me ease this longing." He did not go too far. Only by the time it ended, my lips had gone numb. Lin Feng held me from behind, his lips near my ear. "And Ning, once everything has settled, you and I will properly consummate our marriage." My face burned, my heart was a riot, but inside I was flooded with joy. This feeling was strange, and then Lin Feng abruptly doused it with cold water. "If things fail, I will arrange for someone to see you safely away. Find yourself someone better than me." I spun around and gave him a punch. He let out a grunt of pain, but he laughed, and laughed with real pleasure. "My little Ning, worthy of my teaching." I glared at him. "Husband, believe it or not, I feel as though I came into this world for you. If you die, I don't think I would know what to live for anymore. I can't explain that in words. It is as though something in the dark has been guiding me to fulfill some kind of mission." Lin Feng leaned down to kiss me again. Before long, even he could not hold back. He took my hand and drew it down. "Good girl, Ning. Be kind to me." 3 months later, Lin Feng made a full recovery. He immediately sent word to the remnant forces of the old Shen family army. The two sides agreed on a date, and troops advanced toward the capital from both north and south. The great army was like dry timber meeting flame. The momentum was unstoppable. But I understood clearly, the reason Lin Feng could advance with such apparent ease today was the result of 10 years of silent planning. Every step he had taken had been a step on the edge of a blade. When he entered the city, Lin Feng raised high the great banner of the Shen family, the Qilin standard. What moved me most was this: the moment they saw the Shen family banner, no small number of the city's defending soldiers immediately laid down their weapons and surrendered. Lin Feng was the third son of the Shen family, equally accomplished in both letters and martial arts, bearing extraordinary presence, Shen Ruffing. Above him were an eldest sister and 2 elder brothers. In the beginning, the Shen family had placed no particular expectations on this youngest son, only hoping he might live a life free of worries and toil. But afterward, as grandfather, father, mother, and brothers fell one after another. He was left with no choice but to step forward and bear everything. The city gates swung open. The common people cleared the way. Not a single person stood to resist. By now, who was loyal and who was treacherous had been made unmistakably clear. Someone called out after 10 years of separation, recognizing Lin Feng as Shen Third Master. Shen Third Master has returned. Third Master, has he taken a wife? Third Master, look this way. It is me. The Oriole girl who had once sung spring songs in the Peach Blossom Alley. Matchmakers rushed forward even in the midst of a coup, right there in the middle of a restoration. Thinking it through, his face was simply far too attractive. The soldiers of the Imperial Guard step by step fell back, until at last they all withdrew before the palace gates. Lin Feng, second sister-in-law, Xu Jiao, advisor Chang, the head of the Tao family. Each one of them had once been a loyal subject wronged and destroyed by imperial power. Now they stood before the palace gates, proud and unyielding as the sky itself. The palace gates were broken open, the emperor's hair was in disarray, his imperial robes crumpled. In only these few days, the wretched old emperor had surely lost his appetite and sleep from terror. Now he was visibly thinner and pale as a ghost. He screamed, "Lu Zhao, quickly, arrest these treacherous rebels for me." The man named Lu Zhao let his sword fall to the ground. His gaze was bitter. Not a shred of will to fight remained. The tide had turned. From the day the Shen family army reclaimed the capital, he had already known the change of dynasty was inevitable. Lu Zhao looked at Lin Feng and said in a low voice, "Shen Third Master, you hate me, don't you? Your elder brother died fighting to the death at the palace gates for your elder sister. I chose to survive instead, and betrayed you, revealed the secret of your prison break, causing the deaths of several of the Shen family's loyal generals and leaving you gravely wounded. I should have died long ago, but I waited. Waited for the day you would return. Shen Rufeng, I always knew you would come back." Lu Zhao dropped all resistance and knelt slowly, like a condemned man awaiting his judgment. "I saw their past, how he and Lin Feng had once sworn brotherhood in a peach garden, bowed to heaven and earth, and sworn to share life and death. His elder brother had been the boyhood sweetheart of the eldest Shen daughter. The Shen and Lu families had long been allies, bound by ties of marriage stretching through generations. All the trusted military commanders around the emperor had been wiped out. He had no one left to command, only powerless fury. He turned to look at second sister-in-law, Qingping. "I am your uncle by blood. How can you betray me for a man? Have you no shame, after all the teaching I gave you? Listen to your uncle, kill Shen Rufeng." Second sister-in-law let out a cold laugh. "For a man? Shen's second master was not only my husband, he was a celebrated general, a hero. I loved him and I revered him. I left the imperial house not only for love, but for righteousness. Uncle, I hold you in contempt." The emperor's expression darkened at once. Like a madman on the verge of collapse, he whispered a few words to the eunuchs beside him, then raised his voice. "Qingping, you have disappointed me deeply." Before long, several eunuchs carried out a large ceramic jar. Inside the jar was a person, one who had been turned into a living relic, deprived of all 5 senses and all 4 limbs, unable to see or to hear, and yet second sister-in-law suddenly burst into sobbing, screaming, "Second master!" Shen's second master had clearly lost all his senses, and yet in that moment, it was as though he truly heard. He slowly raised his head. The sockets where his eyes had been were only hollow wounds now, but the corner of his lips slowly, gently curved upward into a smile. Second sister-in-law's voice broke apart, more desolate than weeping. Desolate as a cuckoo's cry on a spring night, grief so sharp it tore through everything. I looked at Lin Feng. The sword in his hand was trembling violently. The old wretch of an emperor screamed, "Even if I die, I will drag someone down with me. If any of you dare move, I will send Shen's second master to the underworld at once." Lin Feng stood frozen to the spot, but second sister-in-law had already made up her mind. "Little sister, shoot the arrow. Help me." And help second master. I seemed to understand everything, my vision blurred, tears searing both eyes. All the suffering he had endured rose in my mind, every blow of pain ripping through me like torn flesh. A pain so deep it was numb. I raised my bow and aimed squarely at Shen's second master, ensuring that this one arrow would be his release. Second sister-in-law wanted to end his suffering, but she could not bring herself to do it. Lin Feng could not do it either. Only I could. When the arrow struck true, I saw him smiling toward me. He must have understood everything. He had once been such a noble, magnificent young lord. In that moment, second sister-in-law collapsed to the ground, wailing, "Second master, I have no regrets in this life." She was utterly broken. Fatty Ya's eyes went red with rage, and she nearly charged forward to kill the emperor then and there. But at that moment, the eunuchs dragged forward a beautiful woman. Dressed in white, slender and slight, as though a single gust of wind might carry her away. White silk was tied at her brow. She swept a glance over Shen's second master's body, then Shu turned and looked back toward where we stood. Her eyes held not a trace of fear, only a calm that reached all the way to the bone. Even now, the wretched old emperor still feigned deep feeling. "Sure, I cannot bear to see you die. But they forced my hand, truly, I have no other choice." Before the words had fully left his mouth, his throat erupted in blood. A hairpin hidden in Shu's hand, no larger than a blade, flashed as she brought it slashing down, clean and decisive. Blood sprayed across her pale, gaunt face. The old emperor crumpled. Shu looked down at him the way one looks at something filthy. I have waited 10 years for this day. 10 years for Shu. A long and winding road. I lowered my bow and took Lin Feng's hand. His hand was still trembling. His voice was hoarse, and Ning. "We have won." But, we had only just learned second brother was alive, and now we have lost him again. I did not know what to say. Lin Feng gripped my hand tightly. "And Ning, thank you. For helping second brother, and for helping second sister-in-law. For second brother, this ending was also a form of release." Epilogue. The dynasty changed. Shen Rufeng ascended the throne and proclaimed himself emperor. The realm was henceforth of the Shen family. All the Shen family's fallen were granted posthumous honors. Second sister-in-law was decreed the title of Lady Ronghua. Lin Ping'an, now Shen Ping'an, was officially recorded in the clan register under her name. The two of them would rebuild the Shen family's household together, the new emperor once said. Only when second sister-in-law was busy did she stop thinking of second brother day and night. Parting in life or in death is a pain no words can resolve. I felt for her, and was powerless. The court in ruins needed rebuilding. The new emperor refused to establish a large harem. He and I consummated our marriage 6 months later. The new emperor asked if I was afraid. I stood on tiptoe and stopped his words with a kiss. Whether Lin Feng or Shen Rufeng, I loved him. I did not know when I had fallen in love with him. But in the moment we truly came together, I dimly understood. It had always been this way between us. 3 months later, I was with child. The new emperor was overjoyed beyond measure. He had learned to braid every style of hair imaginable, as though born in this life for precisely that. When the child was 5 months along, I suddenly began bleeding from the nose, and it would not stop. The new emperor panicked and flew into a fury, even summoning Shinshu into the palace to keep me company. But the imperial physicians could find no cause, only that my body was growing weaker day by day. The new emperor raged. How can the empress be fragile? She was raised by me. I taught her martial arts myself. She is no delicate woman. The entire Imperial Physician Bureau was stumped. The new emperor issued edicts across the realm to find a renowned doctor. But one afternoon in the sunlit warmth, I heard a distant voice from the void. The karma is complete. It is time to return. I was unwilling. I still clung to life with everything I had. On the day the child ripened, I gave birth to a daughter. The new emperor threw himself down beside the bed and wept. And Ning, I cannot live without you. Since the day you came to me, I finally felt truly alive. My heart was full of things I wanted to say, but in the end I could only speak in a faint voice. We will meet again. Take good care of our daughter. No wonder I had never seen the face of the one who lay beside the new emperor in the future. Because I would die. Because I was the one who would leave, I dreamed a very long dream. In the dream, a Taoist elder spoke to me. You defied heaven and altered fate, revealed the secrets of heaven, and changed the destinies of too many people. So your own fate had to be surrendered, but it was very much worth it. After I died, the emperor sat holding the child swaddled in cloth, silently watching my body. A powerful beam of light descended. I saw clearly the karma and the past life. In a previous life, I had been a princess of a fallen kingdom. Lin Feng had been a young general. He had escorted me through a desperate flight, combing my hair and washing my clothes with his own hands, and in the end died for my sake. I, too, had once helped him pull out the barbed arrow from his back. When he breathed his last, he still held me in his arms to shield me. I held him, weeping desperately. In the next life, let me protect you. So that was it. Karma does not lie. New life, returning to the mortal world, I opened my eyes once more. I could make no sound, only the cry of a newborn. In this life, I was born into the household of the meritorious Shen family. My grandmother was the former Princess Qingping, now conferred the title of Lady Ronghua. My father and mother had 5 sons, and I, the 6th child, was the first daughter. Grandmother raised me herself. People often said I looked exactly like a dear old soul she had once known. Whenever she said so, I would fling myself into her arms and act spoiled for a while. Grandmother loved to comb my hair herself. While combing, she would let out a gentle sigh. Yan Yan's hair is so black and glossy, just like Empress Xiao Yuan's hair. Such a pity she left so soon. The Yuan emperor could not bear to live long after her either. The woman emperor has reigned since she was 5, under her father's guidance. At 16, I stood on a tea pavilion on Chang'an's Grand Avenue and watched from afar as the new class of first-place scholars rode their horses in procession. The one at the front, the top new scholar, was brilliantly handsome and dashingly bold. I threw the silk flower I was holding toward him. Just as he looked up, his hand caught the flower. His gaze froze, and he stared at me for a long, long time. It has been a while since we last met. Are you well? I had said so, hadn't I? We would meet again. The end. The Yuan emperor could not bear to live long after her either. The woman emperor has reigned since she was 5, under her father's guidance. At 16, I stood on a tea pavilion on Chang'an's Grand Avenue and watched from afar as the new class of first-place scholars rode their horses in procession. The one at the front, the top new scholar, was brilliantly handsome and dashingly bold. I threw the silk flower I was holding toward him. Just as he looked up, his hand caught the flower. His gaze froze, and he stared at me for a long, long time. It has been a while since we last met. Are you well? I had said so, hadn't I? We would meet again. The end. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to Love Stories with Lisa for more stories. Thank you so much.